So this is from The Guardian, and this homicide where the sons were attacking the moms. So this says, you had better be careful in your bed tonight. Shock rise in women by their sons. Violence by children against parents and grandparents is Britain's hidden abuse, often misunderstood or ignored until too late. Pioneering research aims to bring it to the open. Not just there, here. To me, it seems like the United States have a higher, it just seemed higher for some reason. Here is showing a lady, Jane, 51, has 6 children. They range from 7-year-old who is autistic to the 2 eldest, a girl 14 and a boy 19. 5 years ago, the 19-year-old began extremely verbally and physically aggressive towards his mother. Periodically, he punches me. He has stolen money from me. He's grabbed me around the neck. He's held a knife to me. I like to end you, he calls me. Where's the father? Where is the grandfather? Over the past, the 14-year-old has begun copying his brother after their mother threatened to inform the police when she started engaging in potentially criminal behavior. She says she doesn't trust me anymore. The girl refuses to have counseling or see social workers, while Jane, who is on antidepressants, feels so threatened that she retreats to her bedroom to avoid the attacks. Are you kidding me? I'm not retreating into my house, into my room, behind somebody that I raised, or that you the mom, you birth. Oh, I'm not doing that, boo-boo. You get your AA out of here. We either gonna get counseling, or you gonna get in order, or if the parent look like in this lady's case, maybe the father's not in the household, y'all go stay with daddy. Y'all unleash out on him and see where it gets you, where you end up at. I used to have rules and regulations in the house. Now it's chaos. As a parent, I don't want to have my children arrested. See, that's what the problem is. Can't be lenient on them. As they say in the Bible, spoil the child, spare the rod, or however it goes. Social services don't want to see or hear anything about child to parent violence. It's taboo. I'm told it's my fault. But what if I end up in the hospital or dead? My children have to live with that for the rest of their lives. Child to parent and grandparent violence is a gendered crime. Victims are more likely to be female and the perpetrators male. Some research has been conducted on violence and abuse inflicted mainly by sons aged under 18, but assaults, coercive control, and killings by older children is an area that is scandalously under-investigated.
I think it's especially challenging when it's a child or a grandchild. And the easiest way I can describe it is for the older adult, he, she, they remember that child or grandchild as a baby and as a toddler and maybe as a mouthy teenager and up through all those other stages. And nobody wants to believe that their child or grandchild would do anything to harm them. It's difficult to leave that. Part of what we have seen a lot of is that it's not been uncommon to have an adult child or a grandchild to move back in. There's usually financial exploitation going on. There's usually some form of neglect, sometimes physical, not as often, but sometimes sexual. And what we've discovered with that is if the financial exploitation comes forward and is recognized, there seems to be a systemic response to that. But we also notice that sometimes questions aren't being asked of other forms of abuse. And it won't be until a long time later that we may, in fact, hear about it.
I think when the abuser is your adult child, I think there is increased shame and guilt, feeling like you're a bad parent, that somehow it is your fault, that you should have maybe done something differently. I think there is the fear of reaching out for help and having that adult child go to jail. I think that is a difficult journey for any parent to go through, to have a child go to jail.
I think it's extremely hard for an elder to hold their children and their grandchildren accountable. We have a lot of difficulties in our tribal communities where we have grandparents raising their grandchildren. And as a result of those relationships, some of the abuse is taking place. And they don't want to force that child into a system that might be punitive, and don't want to do that kind of harm to that person. So they struggle with wanting to protect their child or their grandchild while wanting to be safe.
Well, the very obvious thing that comes to mind is you can't divorce your child. It's your child. They're your flesh and blood. And so when the abuse is perpetrated by an adult child, I have found it is much harder for women to cope with. They don't want to call law enforcement. They don't want to turn them in. And then they sometimes question themselves, what kind of mother am I that I raised a child that can do this to me? So it is definitely more challenging, and validating that to her, I think is very important. I think it's important that we acknowledge the hurt that they must be feeling, the betrayal that they must be feeling. Once again, it's that whole belief system of what kind of person am I to raise somebody like this? And always, always, it's imperative that we remind them that it's not their fault.
I think that's the most delicate time for a woman or a man to realize that the child or the grandchild that they're responsible for, the child that they raise, is now victimizing them. Themes about transgenerational abuse arise. How did we get to this point? Are they mirroring activities or behaviors that I exposed them to? There's a lot of shame and guilt around how did we get this far? Maybe I shouldn't have stayed. Now my children are doing this to me. Can I really ask for help now, knowing that I've exposed them? They've witnessed these behaviors and I love them. So I'm going to call the police. When should I call the police? Why should I call the police? I'm really the reason why we're in this situation in the first place. And they need help. And I need to help them by any means necessary, because this love is a love that, is a love from birth.
They may also feel like they don't want the relationship to end. They don't want their relationship with their child to end. They're looking for help in ending the violence, and the extent to which we as advocates can help survivors negotiate when it's possible to save the relationship in the face of violence and when it's not is an important role that I think advocates play.
In one case of matricide, the son's medical note said no female member of staff should be along with him because he was known to be dangerous to women. A kid already a psycho? Nobody's questioned whether he should be living at home with his mother. Support is so minimal. One professional describes it as a lolly stick moving an iceberg. The Femicide Census, co-founded by Clary O'Callaghan and Karen Ingala Smith, records the death of every woman killed by a man in England and Wales. The number of women killed by sons has shown a steady and alarming rise since 2016 after decades of remaining stable. The number of grandmothers killed by grandson has also risen. While younger women are more at risk of being killed by a partner or ex-partner, it is women in their 60s and older who are at risk from their older sons and grandsons. In the Census 10-year report 2009 to 2018, 109% of the total of 1,435 women were killed by men were mothers killed by sons, while 11 grandmothers were killed by their grandsons over the decade. In 2020, the figure for matricide is 15%, 14 killings of mothers and 5 of grandmothers in a single year, and 28 cases in which the relationship is not yet known. In 2019, 18-year-old Rowan Thompson, his mother, Joanna, 118 times. He later died in a mental health facility. His sister talked about walking on eggshells. Last year, Dale Morgan, 43, was jailed for life after striking his mother, Judith, 68, 14 times with a hammer. A note written by Reed said, utilize example, car, work had been furloughed, stealing money, stealing medication, drug addiction, opiates. I'm sorry, that's no excuse. That's your mom. That's your mom. It's no excuse. In February 2022, Donovan Miller, 31, pleaded guilty to manslaughter on grounds of diminished responsibility after deleting his grandmother, Phyllis, 76, using extreme violence. Last month, Andrew Wilden, 42, was sentenced to life, serving a minimum of 27 years for the delete of his mother, Elsie Pender, 66. He left her to die in a fire he had set in the flat they shared. Saying here, he's giving me black eyes. He punched me in the face the other day because he said I was looking at him for too long. Somebody named Rebecca says. Rebecca and her husband, Ben, have 3 sons. Kyle is almost 18 and has autism and attention deficit. Social workers have assessed that he has a mental capacity to refuse to consult with his parents, allowing Kyle to make decisions that often result in meltdowns inflicted by his parents. So with this little monster, I call him a monster, Daddy is in the home. Last year, the 2 investigated 59 parricides. 34 of the victims were mothers, 25 were fathers. Fathers who are victims of parricides are more likely to be younger and killed by sons in their teens and 20s. In the report, 75% of the mothers had mentally ill sons, and many were their sons' carers. I guess caregivers. I hate to say it, I saw read enough. This is, to me, diabolical. It's abomination. It's against God. I can't wrap this around my head that people saying, oh, he's autistic, hyperactivity, he got into drugs, he got with the wrong crowd. No excuse, you guys, no excuse. Case, the victim called the police about 50 times over 2 years because of her son's behavior. In hospital, she said she was too frightened to go home, but she was discharged and deleted. It's bad enough some of us got to take BS from your man. I don't take it from him, a man, dude, whatever. Surely not going to take it from a kid. Now the kid, you put diapers, you put Pampers on, you put nappies on, that you miss work because they were sick. You spent all your money Christmas. No. As the old saying, I don't really mean it in that way, but as the old people would say to these kids, I brought you into this world, I can take you out of this world. But don't take me literally, you guys, not literally. No. So here it goes on here. It says, parents are often their child's biggest advocate. This is what the specialist, the professional is saying. They just want the behavior and the coercive control to stop. If the first person a mother tells isn't positive and refuses to believe her, then that's going to dangerously isolate mother and her child even more. A lot of professionals tell us, it doesn't happen here, she adds. We say because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. If nothing changes, mothers and grandmothers will continue to live in misery and they will continue to be deleted. That story was sad, you guys. I'm serious. It was sad. I thank you for, what else? Watching me. Maria loves to talk. Leave those comments. Stay healthy and blessed. Thank you.